Okay, so Francisco, no, I shouldn't say Francisco because there's going to be a lot of editing on this thing. Because this is for a possible online class. So I'm kind of, it's
Double
not
stone.
Francisco. What?
You're throwing the double stone right now.
What's the double stone? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. The double stone. I'm doing the double stone.
I hope not.
I just made that up, and I think I'm going to
Okay,
use it.
shut
I'm
up.
gonna
We're
coin
filming.
Yeah, we're filming. Quiet on the set. All right, so today we're going to draw this pretty cupcake. I am not good at the video camera. Oh, I gotta just feel like I'm just have no camera, right?
Yeah.
Francisco, that's why I have to say your name. I gotta say your name because I gotta, okay. Drawing the cupcake today. What we're gonna do when you draw the cupcake is you're going to look at the basic shapes of this cupcake. The basic shapes are this circle, this triangle, and this rectangle. So, and I put those shapes in here. This kind of a rectangle, circle. So it's just really blocking in, okay? So while I'm doing these steps, it would help if you also did them so that you can keep up. So you want to analyze and just look at the basic shapes. And so basically those are the basic shapes. Sometimes that's hard to actually see because you just see a cupcake and it's very hard to break it down into these simple shapes. But that's what we have so far. The next thing that we're going to do is the second round of blocking in, which now this rectangle has a little bit of flare going out on the outside, a little bit of angle, and a little bit of an ellipse down at the bottom. And I didn't do the cupcake the first time around, the actual cake part, so I'm adding the cake in here. And I'm going back up to the frosting, kind of just repeating that same shape because the cupcake frosting is kind of complicated. So right now my brain's not ready to take in the shapes of the frosting. I'm going to go back up to the cherry and place it over a little bit more to the left. Realize that the cherry is flatter on top than I had it originally. And that's our second go around with the blocking in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is stand back a little bit and take a look. My cherry on here is like actually gigantic looking, but I think going back into the frosting is covering up a lot of it, and so I'm not going to worry about that size. I'm going to go back into the frosting and start adding some of these peaks, but try not to get too involved with the detail. I see now too that this side of the cupcake icing is up a lot higher than I had it the first time, which is going to help the size of the cherry look a little bit smaller. Okay, so the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to now look at values. The value on this side of the cupcake is a very light value. Value being the lightness and darkness of a color. Really light on this side, really dark on that side, on the left side where no light is getting. So I'm going to take my vine charcoal and just start to apply some of the value. With vine charcoal, it's really nice because you can just smudge in what you've done. Again, I'm not doing a whole ton of stuff with detail yet. I'm just blocking in the values. All on the left-hand side. The cupcake is dark on the left-hand side. And the whole, this is an awful big cupcake. But it's fun to have it this big when you're all done because it looks cool on your wall. So with vine charcoal, you can use the side of your charcoal, which makes everything go faster. And it also already looks like the paper pleats on the cupcake paper. Okay. Are you keeping up?
Yep.
Okay, so where are we? So now we're going to go back to analyzing. We've got the dark values on the left side. We're leaving the light values, the color of the paper. We're gonna later go in with some white chalk to bring out the lighter values even more. So now I'm gonna go in and start just analyzing more detail. So I'm gonna start with the cherry and work my way down. Okay? So I'm just fixing the shape of the cherry a little bit flat on top, a little bit taller than I had it. And on this side, there's gonna be a lot of light. So I'm gonna leave that like almost with no line right now. All right? And looking at the negative space that the frosting is making on the cherry, I'm going to bring this big peak right here in the frosting. And I'm gonna start my frosting shape using that peak to start with. I usually leave out all the little jibbies, or whatever they're called, jibbies, candies on the frosting, but you can put them in if you want to. Okay, don't get too involved with the detail in the frosting. Just try to keep everything as basic as you can to start out with. All right, so this part of the frosting loops around all the way over to here. And then it comes back all the way over here, comes down, back up. Just reanalyzing the shapes, just trying to keep track of kind of where you are in the frosting. It's not a huge deal because you can really kind of do your own thing in the frosting a little bit, but it's nice to be able to get it close to your reference. Okay. Another nice thing about the vine charcoal is that you don't need an eraser too much in the beginning because you can just wipe it right off. So I'm going to say that's fine for my frosting right now. I'm going to go back down into the paper, into the bottom of the frosting before I go into the paper. And I'll loop this light part of the frosting under and now that fixing the shape underneath the frosting is helping me see the shape of the actual cake part, and the light stops right about here and the shadow begins. Okay, and now back into the cupcake. The cupcake, I guess, is pretty okay. It might be a little too tall, the actual cupcake paper. But I'm going to put these little V's in here to indicate the cupcake pleats, even though it's not quite like that. I'm going to just do it anyway. I'm going to keep this line over here fairly light, just to indicate where the edge of the cupcake paper is. Okay, Now I'm going to go back in and get more value in the left side of the cupcake icing. I'm going to do it with the side of the vine charcoal. Now, you probably think this is way too dark, but what we're trying to do is follow the values. The value here is showing us a really, really, really dark color because no light is getting to that white frosting. So it's going to be really dark on this side. The areas that are light are the peak in the frosting and all the frosting on this side. So you want to try to, oh, and that, something's going on up there. I've just seen that goes up. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. What I'll do is I'm just going to make the cherry a little bit bigger. So I thought the cherry was too big. Now the cherry is actually not big enough. But that's kind of how you work this stuff out. It just keeps on changing and changing as you go along. Okay. And all right. So I'm going to, even though we're not quite ready for it, just so that you can kind of work on your own and enjoy doing some of the detail, the rest of the detail on the cupcake, I'm going to show you how to use the white charcoal. Once you're fairly satisfied with the light value areas, and at this point I should probably have a kneaded eraser, but I don't, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to put really light value with the white charcoal in some of these areas. It gets really light in the peak of the frosting, and it's really light over here on this side. I don't have this completely worked out yet, but this is for the purposes of the demo. And I would keep on working on this to get it just so. Okay, I'm going to lighten up this side of the cupcake and do the same thing on this side, except for it's not working too good. I'm going to just try, let me see what chalk is like. Looks like chalk, just regular classroom chalk does the trick too. Okay, and then I'm going to go back around with my vine charcoal a little bit and finish stuff out. And I am going to turn off the video and continue working on this, and then we can take a look at each other's finished product.
Oh my gosh.